Guy stepping out of the black SUV might have less money than the person driving the 10-year-old Toyota. The woman posting luxury vacation photos might be carrying several credit card balances, and the entrepreneur bragging about six-figure deals might actually be behind on his taxes. The modern economy makes it incredibly simple to borrow the appearance of wealth. You can finance cars, finance phones, you can even finance vacations. And when almost everything can be financed, something strange begins to happen. People begin living lifestyles their income can't actually support. Yet at the same time, luxury car sales keep rising, which raises an obvious question. If so many people feel financially stretched, why does expensive living seem more common than ever? Welcome to what many people now call the era of fake rich. In the United States alone, credit card balances have climbed to more than $1.28 trillion. And yet, when you look around, the signals tell a completely different story. Parking lots filled with luxury vehicles, social media feeds overflowing with images of expensive lifestyles. Something about this picture doesn't quite make sense. So what's really going on? Today we're breaking down 10 things fake rich people almost always do. Some of them are obvious, some are subtle. But number 4 is the one most people completely miss. And once you notice it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. The first sign shows up in something surprisingly common: buying the cheapest possible version of a luxury brand. Not because the product is exceptional, but because the logo carries status. Look around any mall, and this pattern becomes impossible to miss. Someone stretching their budget for the most affordable Lexus on the lot. A belt with an oversized Versace emblem designed to catch attention from a distance. The smallest item inside a Prada store. The keychain, the card holder, the thing that costs the least but still carries the name. The focus isn't craftsmanship, it's visibility. It's about making sure other people recognize the label, and manufacturers understand this dynamic perfectly. They know many buyers aren't focused on performance or reliability. They're focused on the symbol. That's why entry-level luxury exists at all. If you start paying attention, you'll notice the same pattern in parking lots. A base model Cadillac with cloth seats and manual adjustments. An entry-level Infiniti that looks impressive from 20 feet away until you notice what's missing. But the badge is there, and that's often the only part that really matters. Consider this: a well-equipped Honda Accord or Subaru Outback costs nearly the same as these entry-level luxury cars, sometimes less. Yet those vehicles often include more technology, better reliability ratings, and lower long-term costs. But when status enters the equation, financial logic often takes a back seat, because status is about what people see, not what makes the most financial sense. The person chasing the badge isn't thinking about depreciation curves or maintenance schedules. They're thinking about who might notice them pulling into the parking lot. And the cost of that image doesn't stop at the purchase price. That entry-level luxury vehicle requires premium fuel instead of regular. Higher insurance premiums because it's a luxury brand. More expensive repairs when something breaks. The base model Cadillac costs significantly more to own over 5 years than the fully loaded Honda. The numbers tell an uncomfortable story. Someone driving that entry-level luxury car might spend 20 to 30% more on transportation than they need to. Meanwhile, someone quietly building wealth drives something practical and invests the difference. That gap compounds. Over years, it can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars that either went toward appearances or toward assets. Luxury brands have spent decades and billions of dollars building associations with success, prestige, and exclusivity. When someone buys the entry-level version, they're not just purchasing a product, they're purchasing the identity attached to it. For a moment, it feels like stepping into a higher social tier. The problem is that identity has recurring costs, increased maintenance costs, elevated insurance rates, growing pressure to continue upgrading. Because once you've bought into that world, the pressure doesn't stop. The car needs to be kept clean. The next model year looks better. The neighbors notice what you're driving. And over time, the person becomes financially tied to maintaining an image that keeps demanding more. The second sign reveals itself in conversation. This one is subtle at first, but unmistakable once you know what to listen for. Some people seem unable to go very long without bringing up money. The topic could be something as simple as food, and they'll still find a way to connect it to money. Eventually, the discussion shifts toward income, investments, or business deals. You mention a vacation, and suddenly they're explaining their travel reward strategy. You share news about a friend's promotion, and they pivot to their own achievements within 2 sentences. Every topic somehow circles back to finances, and always in a way that makes them look successful. The money they describe usually hasn't happened yet. It's always something coming soon. A deal that's about to close, an investment that's about to skyrocket, a business opportunity that's about to change everything. I've got something massive in the works. Once this pays off, things will look different. Most of the story takes place in the future, because the present situation isn't quite impressive enough. People who are genuinely secure about their financial situation don't need to constantly remind everyone how well they're doing. They can discuss dozens of other topics without steering toward money, because their confidence doesn't depend on proving it. Another tell shows up in how they describe business success. Someone brags about their business doing $500,000 when their actual take-home was $50,000. Still respectable income, but not the achievement they're portraying it to be. The exaggeration reveals the insecurity. When money becomes someone's main identity marker, they feel pressure to constantly reinforce it. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to signal status. But real financial stability removes that pressure. Because when someone knows they're secure, they no longer need the approval of strangers. The third sign might be the most financially dangerous of them all. An expensive watch on the wrist of someone with a maxed out credit card. Designer clothing in the closet of someone with almost no savings. High-end accessories carried by someone living paycheck to paycheck. This happens more often than many people realize. The purchase isn't really a celebration of success. It's more like a costume for success that hasn't arrived yet. It's a preview of the life they hope to reach, bought on credit before they can actually afford it. There's an old rule worth remembering. If you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't actually afford it. Think about what that bag or watch actually represents. Not accomplishment, not smart financial decisions, just a willingness to sacrifice future security for present appearance. A handbag might earn glances from strangers momentarily. An empty savings account produces anxiety that lasts. I've seen people finance designer purchases, paying interest on a handbag, making monthly payments on a watch. The item depreciates while the debt accumulates. By the time it's paid off, they've spent 30% more than the sticker price on something worth half what they originally paid. People who already have wealth rarely take those kinds of risks for appearances. Their luxury purchases represent a tiny fraction of their net worth, not a significant chunk of their monthly budget. The item is a reward, not a gamble. But when someone buys luxury items far too early, the item becomes a financial burden rather than a reward. They're carrying a $5,000 bag with $2,000 in savings. They're wearing a $10,000 watch while carrying $8,000 in credit card debt. The math doesn't work. And now we arrive at the fourth sign, the one most people miss. Someone shares good news, and the response immediately becomes a comparison. You mention a promotion, they mention a bigger one they got last year. You talk about a nice vacation, they describe something more extravagant. Every interaction quietly becomes a contest. Picture this at a dinner party. Someone shares that they just closed on their first home. Before anyone can congratulate them, the one-upper jumps in. That's great, but you really should have waited for something bigger. The energy in the room shifts. Your accomplishment gets absorbed by their requirement to be central. This isn't typical dialogue. It's a contest. But the real motivation isn't genuine competition. It's insecurity. Your good news diminishes them somehow, so they respond by trying to reclaim the spotlight. Real confidence doesn't operate that way. People who are secure in their finances can celebrate someone else's success without feeling threatened. But people chasing the image of wealth often can't do that. They feel threatened by any success that isn't theirs. Over time, it affects how decisions are made. Instead of choosing what genuinely improves their life, someone begins choosing what will look impressive compared to others. The car isn't chosen for reliability. It's chosen because it's nicer than their neighbors. The vacation isn't chosen for enjoyment. It's chosen because it will generate better photos than their co-worker's trip. The watch isn't chosen for craftsmanship. It's chosen because it's one tier above what their brother-in-law wears. And that shift from internal satisfaction to external validation can become extremely expensive. The fifth sign plays out most clearly online. This is where the performance of wealth becomes a full-time job. Some people turn their entire social media presence into a display of wealth. Every post shows something expensive. Luxury restaurants with perfectly plated food, designer purchases still in the shopping bag, exotic vacation destinations with crystal clear water. The feed becomes a highlight reel of prosperity. But social media naturally rewards attention. Displays of wealth attract attention quickly. A video showing someone spending $1,000 at the mall will almost always get more engagement than a video showing someone adding $1,000 to their emergency fund. One feels exciting and aspirational. The other feels boring. People learn that projecting wealth generates attention regardless of whether the wealth is real. So, they perform prosperity. They post the rented car like they own it, the borrowed watch like it's theirs. Social media shows highlights, not reality. But the fake rich need you to believe the highlights are their everyday existence. Meanwhile, many genuinely wealthy individuals keep their finances extremely private. They don't need public validation. When wealth becomes a performance, the pressure to maintain that performance can grow quickly. Each display raises the bar for the next one, and the next sign might be the most expensive habit of them all. The sixth sign deserves a closer look because it's so widely accepted that most people don't recognize it as a red flag. Instead of buying a car and eventually owning it outright, you stay in a permanent cycle of payments. Every few years, you replace the vehicle with another one through leasing, just because this allows you to drive a newer car regularly, with that fresh smell and the latest design. But financially, it means the payments never really end. To understand leasing, here's the mechanism. The dealer estimates what the vehicle will be worth at lease end. You pay the difference between the purchase price and that residual value, plus interest, taxes, and fees. A $50,000 car worth $30,000 after 3 years means you're financing $20,000 of depreciation. Then you return it and start over. Take possession, give it back, get another, start over. Cars lose value fastest in their first few years. And leasing means paying for exactly that depreciation over and over again. Someone who leases continuously for 20 years has made hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments and owns absolutely nothing at the end. Leasing is one of the most expensive ways to have a car over a lifetime, but it allows people to afford the monthly payments for vehicles that would otherwise be beyond what they could realistically buy. That's the whole attraction. The person looks successful pulling into the parking lot. What you don't see is that they're gaining no equity, paying high insurance premiums, and committing to endless payments without anything to show for it. If your goal is a luxury car for reasons other than status, buying a used car is far smarter financially. But a used car lacks the new car scent and flawless badge that the fake rich image demands. The seventh sign is the most visible and the most ironic. Fake handbags, imitation watches, knockoff designer clothing. If someone is flaunting fake designer items, they're essentially broadcasting that they're trying to be something they're not. Anyone familiar with luxury brands can spot a counterfeit from a distance. The stitching is slightly wrong. The leather quality feels different. The hardware feels cheap and light. Here is the irony. Many counterfeit items still cost a surprising amount. For that same price, someone could buy a genuinely well-made product from a legitimate brand. Quality isn't Real the
leather.
priority. Quality
Recognition
construction, original design, just without the famous logo. But that's not what the fake rich want. The person carrying the counterfeit doesn't actually care about craftsmanship or materials. They care about the perception that comes with the logo. So, they'll spend $200 on a cheap knockoff instead of $200 on a high-quality original, simply because the fake has a recognizable name. Some argue they just like the style and aren't trying to deceive anyone. But if that were true, why pick a knockoff of a particular brand? Why not go for something authentic and well-made that fits your budget? The brand choice exposes the real reason. It's about the logo, not the design. Counterfeits offer neither prestige nor quality. Those you're trying to impress can spot the fake, and the item itself is poorly made. Essentially, you're paying to showcase your own pretense. The eighth sign shows up in how someone talks about money opportunities. This pattern is particularly revealing, not the clear frauds. Those are simple to identify. The moderately quick opportunities that seem nearly believable. Foreign exchange trading, dropshipping businesses, cryptocurrency day trading, option strategies, multi-level marketing, some new system that promises to change everything if you just get in now. A tiny fraction of people succeed at these activities. The vast majority lose money. But the fake rich love talking about these opportunities because they operate in future tense. They're not discussing what they've built. They're discussing what they're about to build. The potential justifies the current lack of actual re. The pattern typically unfolds this way. Someone discovers a new opportunity and goes all in. They talk about it constantly. Try to recruit friends. Project massive confidence. 6 months later, they've lost money. But they never mention that part. Instead, they've already moved on to the next opportunity. The pattern repeats every year or two. Real wealth usually grows through consistent progress over time, not sudden windfalls. It's built slowly and boringly over years or decades. It rarely comes from turning $5,000 into $1 million in 12 months. But gradual and boring doesn't align with the fake rich identity. They need something dramatic happening, even if that something only exists in their projections. When someone can't stop talking about their next big opportunity, their current opportunity probably isn't delivering what they claim. The ninth sign might be the most frustrating. This person actively criticizes your financial decisions. You mention you're happy with your apartment. They say you should have upgraded. You talk about your reliable used car. They question why you haven't financed something newer. You mention you're saving aggressively. They tell you that money should be invested in whatever they're invested in. The guidance is never requested. Here's what's actually happening. They require validation for their own choices. So they criticize your path to validate theirs. Someone who genuinely understands money knows that different strategies work for different people. But the fake rich need everyone around them to confirm they're doing things correctly. And the 10th sign captures everything in one simple observation: trying too hard to look wealthy, an excess of brand names, an abundance of conspicuous emblems. Every item announces wealth loudly. Nothing communicates it subtly. Look at photos of actual billionaires on ordinary days. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt constantly. Warren Buffett drives a modest car and lives in the same house he bought decades ago. Many of the wealthiest people you'd pass on the street without a second glance. They carry no need to demonstrate anything. The fake rich operate from the opposite psychology. They feel they have everything to prove. So every item becomes a statement. The wealthiest people in most rooms dress normally. Maybe one or two quality items. Their confidence doesn't require external validation through appearance. Genuine prosperity typically remains subtle because it has nothing to prove. For many people today, wealth has become something to perform, an image to maintain, a lifestyle to display. But maintaining that image can become extremely expensive. More money goes toward appearances. Less money goes toward building real financial security. The person pretending to be rich often ends up poorer than they started. Real wealth tends to develop differently, slowly, quietly. The fake rich optimize for how things look to others. The actually wealthy optimize for how things work for themselves. Real wealth isn't about what you show, it's about what you've built. The freedom to make choices without financial pressure. The security of knowing you can handle emergencies. Authentic prosperity communicates quietly. It requires no audience. Artificial affluence surrounds us once you understand what to observe. More significantly, examine your own choices. Are you making financial decisions based on what genuinely serves your future? Or are you spending to maintain an image that's slowly bankrupting you? Because in the long run, the objective isn't appearing prosperous. The objective is achieving genuine prosperity. Make your choice with intention. But I'm curious, which one of these signs do you see the most in real life? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. And if you found this video useful, leave a like and subscribe for more breakdowns on money, psychology, and building real wealth.